all a very warm welcome. You're watching GRAVITAS with me, Raisha Sehgal. On the show tonight, we will tell you how Russia continues to cripple Ukraine's defense capabilities and comes on the eve of the high-stakes Alaska summit. We'll also tell you about Putin's invincible missile. Also on the show, as Pakistan continues to find answers after its humiliating defeat against India, it has now built a brand new army rocket force. From West Asia, we will tell you how Israel is moving forward with a controversial plan to bury the idea of a Palestinian state. All that and a lot more lined up for you on GRAVITAS tonight. Let's get you started. Putin has struck a crippling blow to Ukraine's defense industry, and that's just hours before his first face-to-face meeting with Donald Trump since 2021. Russia claims fresh battlefield gains on the eve of the high-stakes Alaska summit. Releasing drone footage, Moscow says it shows the capture of 2 settlements in eastern Ukraine. The village of Iskra and the small town of Shrenbenevka, both in the Donetsk region annexed by Moscow in 2022. Now, Shrenbenevka sits near Tortesk, seized in February, and close to Kostyantyvenevka, which is one of Ukraine's last major urban strongholds in the region. And the Kremlin's advance has only been accelerating in the past few days. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky admits that Russian forces have pushed up to 10 kilometers forward in a narrow front near Dobropilya. That is the largest single-day gain in over a year. But Ukraine is also striking back. On the same day, Russia took new ground. Kiev says that its intelligence units hit multiple Russian targets, including the Yuneka oil pumping station in Bryansk, which is an important hub in the Druzhba pipeline that supplies crude to Hungary and Slovakia. Well, apart from that, at least 13 people were wounded in a Ukrainian drone attack on Russia's Rostov-on-Don. 2 of the wounded are in serious conditions. Several apartment blocks were damaged in the attack as well. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense says that its forces have been pounding Ukrainian electronic warfare systems, radars, ammunition depots and much more. It claims to have intercepted HIMARS rockets, aerial bombs and hundreds of Ukrainian drones in just 24 hours. And that's not all. Russia continues to inflict damage on Ukraine with the same intensity, if not more. And now that the talks have started, sans Ukraine, without Ukraine, on Thursday, Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, said that coordinated strikes have wiped out 4 defense plants. Apart from that, it has also destroyed facilities for the Sapsan, which is a tactical ballistic missile with a 700-kilometer range, capable of putting Moscow in the crosshairs. The FSB calls the damage colossal, saying that it has halted Ukraine's domestic missile program. Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, is praising Trump administration, calling Washington's current efforts to end the Ukraine war vigorous and sincere. He has said that he hopes that Friday's summit will lay the groundwork for peace and perhaps even agreements on arms control.
I would like to share with you where we currently stand in the current US administration, which, as everyone well knows, is making, in my opinion, quite vigorous and sincere efforts to halt hostilities, end the crisis and reach agreements that serve the interests of all parties involved in this conflict. This is to create long-term conditions for peace, both between our countries in Europe and in the world as a whole. If at the next stage we reach agreements on strategic offensive arms control.
Also on Thursday, Kremlin aide Yuri Yoshakov has said that the two leaders will meet one-on-one at 11:30 local time, that's 1 a.m. IST, before bringing in their delegations, including Russia's top diplomat, defense minister and finance chief, for working talks over breakfast. The day will then end with a joint press conference. The official agenda is resolving the Ukraine crisis. The question is, what actually happens when the two leaders meet? That we'll have to wait and watch. Well, as the world holds its breath before the high-stakes Alaska summit, Russia is moving to make its deadliest point by preparing to test a so-called unstoppable nuclear missile. This comes as it is revealed that Trump's Golden Dome includes 3 layers of missiles interceptors, radar arrays and lasers, in addition to its space-based defenses. Our next report telling you more.
In the icy silence of the Arctic, a dangerous game is afoot. While Presidents Trump and Putin prepare to meet in Alaska, the Kremlin is making a move that speaks louder than any diplomatic communique. Far from the negotiating table, in the remote Novaya Zemlya archipelago, satellite imagery has revealed a flurry of ominous activity. Ships redirecting their courses, tracking aircraft in the skies, and a palpable air of secrecy. The 9M730 Burevestnik is a nuclear-powered cruise missile. It is a ground-launched, low-flying cruise missile that is not only capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, but is also nuclear-powered. It uses a miniature nuclear reactor as its power source. If these tests are successful, Russia will have a unique weapon. A nuclear missile that moves on a nuclear propulsion system, giving it an unlimited range that can hit any other point on the planet from any point. This terrifying capability would allow it to fly for days, evading missile defenses and approaching targets from unexpected directions. Its existence is the ultimate trump card in the escalating arms race. Across the Atlantic, President Trump is doubling down on his own superpower statement, the $175 billion Golden Dome Initiative, a space-based missile and laser shield inspired by Israel's Iron Dome and designed to intercept everything from traditional warheads to hypersonic missiles. The Golden Dome, still on the drawing board, is billed as a next-generation force field, but faces immense technical and financial obstacles. In this new arms race, both Trump and Putin are thinking bigger, bolder, and ever more dangerous. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Pakistan, humiliated after India's Operation Sindoor in May, continues to scramble for answers. And its answer is a brand new army rocket force. The terror state is now working towards establishing a new military force modeled not on its own ingenuity, but on the Chinese army's rocket force. A desperate bid to match India's firepower. On August 13th, the eve of Pakistan's Independence Day, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stood in Islamabad commemorating the confrontation with India and the fact that his forces lost. He announced his shiny new missile command and said it will be equipped with modern technology. He said that it will improve Pakistan's conventional war capabilities and a key quote-unquote milestone in the country's military response capability. Well, a Pakistani security official told news agency Reuters that this new force, and I'm quoting him here, meant for India. But the question is, what will this new force consist of? And what will it actually do? No details were provided, just bluster as of now. What reports suggest is that it will be modelled on its all-weather ally, China's rocket force. Yes, the same one that controls China's vast missile arsenal from nuclear to hypersonic. This development cements the already deep Pakistan-China axis. Now, during Operation Sindoor, China had given Pakistan real-time intel, satellite surveillance as well as advanced military hardware. China's J-10 jets were used by Pakistan, and Pakistan was seen as China's testing ground. Of course, none of it actually tipped the scales as far as India was concerned, because India's air defense crushed the incoming threats. Back in May, Pakistan and India engaged in a 4-day conflict involving missiles, drones, and artillery fire. The conflict erupted after India launched Operation Sindoor in retaliation against Pakistan-backed terrorists who had killed 26 tourists in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam in April this year. But Pakistan left embarrassed and exposed after India crushed terror infrastructure operating on Pakistan's soil. Pakistan started the provocation by shooting missiles and drones at India. Pakistan also unleashed its Chinese-made PL-15s, but India countered with homegrown BrahMos and Akash systems, as well as the Russian S-400. And what about Pakistan's missiles? Almost all turned into duds, swatted out by the sky by India's layered missile defense. India hit Pakistan hard with strikes deep within the country, to name some: Noor Khan Base, communication hubs, strategic infrastructure that tore through Pakistan's operational capacity. India showed its technological dominance and left Pakistan with nothing but wreckage, as well as a bruised ego. No matter how much chest thumping Pakistan does, there is one question that continues to haunt Islamabad, and by their own admission, and that has been how to defend against India's BrahMos missile. India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah in May had confirmed that BrahMos missiles were used to destroy Pakistani air bases. Pakistan's Prime Minister had also admitted that its air bases had been hit by it. And since then, Islamabad has scrambled to plug the gaps, hiking military spending by 20% in its June budget, planning to buy 40 new Chinese fighter jets, and also modernizing its air defense. The Army Rocket Force Command fits neatly into its push. But there's a catch here. Pakistan's current Chinese-made HQ-9 and HQ-16 air defense systems, again by its own admission, failed to stop India's drones and missiles, and they were totally ineffective against the BrahMos. That failure has Islamabad looking beyond Beijing for answers. And all this also comes at a major cost, with an economy in free fall. 45% of its citizens living below the poverty line, and 16% in extreme poverty. Pakistan has still chosen to pour more into defense while slashing almost everything else in the country. In May, it also scraped together a $1 billion IMF loan and $800 million from the Asian Development Bank. Reports also say that it has even removed development projects worth nearly 1,000 billion Pakistani rupees to feed its military budget. Rattled, playing catch-up, Pakistan is now pinning its hopes on a carbon copy of China's rocket force. The question asked is whether it will shift the balance or just give India another target to practice with. Well, Indian and Chinese interests may clash in South Asia and the Indo-Pacific, but on the global stage, the shifting winds of Trump-era disruption are pushing the two Asian giants to re-engage and recalibrate. For New Delhi, strategic, economic and technological realities suggest that despite past tensions with China, cooperation with Beijing could be crucial to weather the storm. In its latest statement, Beijing says the dragon and the elephant should help each other, calling for stronger ties with India as US-China ties, they are at its lowest. The statement came just ahead of Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's August 18th visit to Delhi for talks with India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Both capitals confirmed that they have been quietly maintaining communication at multiple levels. Prime Minister Modi is also visiting China later this month for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. And this would be his first China trip in 7 years, with a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping likely on the sidelines as well. Well, Washington will be watching closely as the two Asian superpowers edge closer. The thaw comes as New Delhi's ties with Washington faces turbulence. And this is, of course, after US President Donald Trump's steep 50% tariff on Indian exports, which has triggered a backlash. In a rare public gesture, Beijing has backed India, calling out the American move as protectionist and destabilizing. The Chinese envoy to India has been sharing how India and China are two growing strong economies. Again, the spokesperson of Chinese embassy in India, an image showing an elephant and dragon being friends, and the symbolism right now says it all. India and China are now in talks to resume border trade, which was halted for 5 years, while direct flights are set to restart next month. Beijing has also eased curbs on fertilizer exports to India, and Indian carriers are preparing to relaunch services with formal announcements expected during the SCO summit. Yet, despite all of this, the big picture remains complex because India remains in the Quad alliance with the US, Australia and Japan, a grouping China views warily. Not just that, border tensions are not fully resolved, but incremental talks are leading to gradual de-escalation between New Delhi and Beijing. Politically, the systems diverge. Economically, Beijing has not granted the free market access that New Delhi seeks. But both the countries share a common interest in countering Western prescriptions on governance and challenging Washington's narrative dominance right now. In a world upended by Trump's tariff storm, a nuanced, pragmatic India-China engagement could be the key to avoiding collisions, managing cooperation, and achieving strategic rebalancing. It's perhaps a delicate dance neither side can afford to misstep. In other news, Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has approved a controversial settlement plan, one that would carve East Jerusalem away from the occupied West Bank. It's a move that his office also says, will bury the idea of a Palestinian state. A plan to split West Bank is being pushed in Israel, even as Palestinians continue to starve to death in Gaza. The decision announced overnight on Thursday revives the long-frozen E1 scheme, a project that Palestinians and world powers have long warned against it, saying that it would effectively cut off West Bank in two, isolate East Jerusalem, and almost certainly draw global condemnation. It's not yet clear whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will back the move, but in the past, he has openly championed it. The E1 project would connect the Male Adumim settlement in the West Bank with Jerusalem. Under the plan, 3,400 homes would be built between Jerusalem and the Male Adumim settlement, creating a physical barrier that critics say would permanently sever Palestinian territorial claims. Peace Now, which tracks settlement activity in the West Bank, said that the Housing Ministry had approved the construction of 3,300 homes. They called the plan deadly for the future of Israel and for any chance of achieving a peaceful two-state solution. Although the group says that there were still steps needed before construction, including the approval of Israel's High Planning Council. But if all went through, infrastructure work could begin within a few months and house building in about a year. The global community views Israeli settlements in the West Bank and its military occupation over the region since 1967 as illegal. Israel froze the E1 scheme in 2012 after fierce opposition from the US, Europe, and much of the world, warning that it would blow up any prospect of peace. So the question is, why has the Israeli minister raked up this issue again? For relevance. You see, Smotrich's popularity in Israel has fallen in recent months. Polls show that his party would not win a single seat if elections were held today. In June, Britain, Canada, Australia and New Zealand imposed sanctions on Smotrich, as well as another far-right minister who advocates for settlement expansion. The European powers accused both of them of repeatedly inciting violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. UK and other states have said that Israel must stop expanding settlements in the West Bank. But over the past 22 months, as Israel has waged the war in Gaza, rights groups have said that settler attacks and settlement expansion in the West Bank has risen sharply. What does the Palestinian Authority say on this? Well, in the past, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has called the E1 settlement plan as a red line. He had warned that he will use legitimate and legal means to stop Israel from doing this for the Palestinians. This plan is an existential threat. Critics say that this project would physically erase the map of a future Palestinian state, cutting them off from East Jerusalem, the capital they claim. And we already know that over the past 22 months of Israel's war in Gaza, settler attacks and construction in the West Bank have risen sharply. The question is, will the world be able to watch Israel split West Bank? We'll have to wait and watch. Let's tell you what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. It's Trump versus Biden yet again, but this time the families are in the ring as First Lady Melania Trump threatens to sue Hunter Biden in a political showdown turned personal. Also on the show, we will tell you how the US is secretly tracking AI chip shipments. Their target, illicit diversions to China. We will also tell you Sam Altman and Elon Musk are racing to plug your brain into AI. The question is, who will connect humanity first? Tragic news coming in from India's Jammu and Kashmir. A massive cloudburst has hit Padar area of Jammu and Kashmir's Kishtavar district. At least 34 people are feared dead, and officials warn that the toll could rise further. And these are the latest images from the site of the cloudburst. The area has been witnessing heavy rains, Rescue teams have begun damage evaluation and required relief and medical arrangements are being made. The incident took place along the Michel Mata pilgrimage route. Massive flash floods have been reported in the Saspul area of Leh on Srinagar Leh National Highway. Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir Manoj Sinha says that civil police, army, NDRF and SDRF officials have been directed to strengthen rescue and relief operations and ensure all possible assistance is provided to the affected. Lieutenant General Manoj Sinha shared condolences to the affected family members and prayed for quick recovery of the injured. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has also spoken to the JNKLG and Chief Minister and assured of all possible assistance in the rescue operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences and assured that the centre will provide every possible assistance. President Draupadi Murmu too expressed her condolences to the grieving families. Recognizing the valor of Operation Synindhur heroes, the Indian government has now announced gallantry awards for all 3 services who played an important role in the success of Operation Synindhur. The awardees include fighter pilots of the Indian Air Force who took part in missions to hit targets inside Pakistan during Operation Synindhur, and officers and men operating the S-400 and other air defense systems which foiled all attacks by Pakistan on the Indian soil. This year's honours also mark the first ever conferment of the Sarvottam Yudh Seva Medal to Air Force officers. 13 Indian Air Force officers will be awarded the Distinguished Yudh Seva Medal for playing an important role in executing attacks during Operation Synindhur and also defending India's airspace. 2 senior Indian Army officers have also been awarded the Sarvottam Yudh Seva Medal. India had launched Operation Synindhur on May 7th in direct response to the Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 innocent lives. The Indian Air Force targeted 9 terrorist facilities deep inside Pakistan, downed Pakistan's 5 fighter jets and 1 military aircraft, and also destroyed Pakistan's F-16 jets. According to the IAF chief, the military aircraft was either an electronics intelligence aircraft or an airborne early warning and control aircraft. The awards are a recognition of the instrumental role played by the 3 services in the operation's success. Pakistan was left clueless as to what had hit them, as India used the Russian-made S-400 air defense system to take down Pakistan's fighter jets from a distance of 300 kilometers, recording world's largest ever surface-to-air kill. Well, it's Trump versus Biden yet again, but this time it's the relatives who are inside the fighting ring, with U.S. First Lady Melania Trump threatening to sue former U.S. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Here's what happened. Melania demanded that Biden retract comments linking her to Jeffrey Epstein, failing which she said she would be forced to slap a lawsuit for more than $1 billion. In an interview with an American journalist this month, Hunter Biden alleged that it was Epstein who had introduced Melania to Donald Trump. Since then, his comments became viral on the internet and were widely shared by media outlets, calling these statements false, defamatory, and extremely salacious. Melania's lawyer fired back at Biden. In a strongly worded letter addressed to Hunter Biden, Melania's lawyer hinted at the fact that these have caused great financial as well as reputational harm to the First Lady. During the interview, Hunter Biden also strongly criticized Donald Trump's former ties to Epstein, both of whom were initially friends but fell out in the early 2000s. Not just that, Biden also lashed out at elites and others in the Democratic Party, calling them a reason behind Joe Biden's last-minute exit from the presidential campaign last year. And since then, we have been seeing that the Trump versus Biden spat has only grown uglier. When it comes to the Epstein saga, controversy almost never leaves the room, with new shocking details emerging as it unfolds. And while shifting focus, after creating chaos in Taiwan, tropical storm Podul has now made a landfall in South China, dumping over 70 millimeters of rain in an hour on various provinces. Our next report telling you more.
Heavy rain slashing roadways, creating traffic and making it difficult for pedestrians to walk on streets. Skies roaring with thunder and lightning. Boats finding their way into storm shelters. Typhoon Podul landed on Taiwan with a bang, but soon weakened into a tropical storm. And now it has shifted the course to China, drenching provinces of Guangdong, Hunan and Jiangxi, and is forecast to move further northwest. In Hong Kong, the storm disrupted hospitals and law courts, with a sea of umbrellas spotted outside these areas, prompting authorities to issue its highest level black weather warning. Several services also suspended operations due to the torrential downpour.
It's true, last week and last month it's been raining constantly and raining heavily. Even in Guangzhou, it's been raining unbelievably hard. Many places in mainland China have experienced flooding, which hasn't been good for anyone. My trip to Hong Kong this time has been completely disrupted.
In East China's Fujian province, the storm dumped huge amounts of rain, with wind speed nearing almost 30 meters per second. As China braces itself for more rains in the coming days, experts warn that extreme weather patterns fueled by climate change might be a new normal for China. This stands to risk billions of dollars of commercial activity for the world's second largest economy. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, in a covert operation straight out of a techno thriller, US agencies have been secretly placing location tracking devices in advanced chips. Their target? Illicit diversions to China. According to a Reuters report, the move is aimed at preventing illegal diversion of AI chips to China. The report says that these trackers are being used on select shipments that are already under investigation. These trackers could, in fact, help the Trump administration build cases against people and companies who are profiting from violating US export controls. But the question is, how effective will these trackers be if the reports are indeed true? 5 other people actively involved in the AI server supply chain are said to be aware of the use of trackers in server shipments. These shipments belong to manufacturers like Dell and Supermicro, which contain chips from NVIDIA and AMD. Sources say that the trackers are typically hidden in the packaging of the shipments, although they are unsure who was installing them or where were they along inserted on the route. These trackers are reported as coming in 2 sizes. Number 1, large trackers, sometimes as big as a regular smartphone, attached to the shipping box. And number 2 are the smaller ones, more discreet devices hidden inside the packaging and even within the servers themselves.
The Trump administration have asked NVIDIA, or are talking about forcing them to build tracking technology into their chips that won't allow them to work abroad. It's very hard to see that could be successful. So if they had GPS sort of capabilities built into them, it's very easy to spoof GPS. We see that, for example, in Ukraine, used to confuse drones, and lots of countermeasures used to defeat it. And you can easily use things like VPNs to make it appear.
Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has said that it is not aware of the matter. The US began restricting the sale of advanced chips from manufacturers like Nvidia and AMD to China in 2022. The United States, which dominates the global AI chip supply chain, has been actively trying to limit exports of chips and other technology to China, citing national security concerns.
Things can be used, for instance, to model nuclear explosions and in all sorts of defence roles, and in weapons, in fact, for the sort of lower end graphics cards, to give them sort of autonomous capabilities. So they do have a military use. There's no question about it. They can also be used for decrypting information and spying.
This year in July, the Trump administration recommended implementing location verification technology to their chips, a move that was applauded by US lawmakers from both the parties in both the houses of Congress. China has responded to US chip export restrictions and the new location tracking proposal with strong criticism. Last month, China summoned Nvidia, expressing concerns over the risks of its chips containing backdoors, a claim that Nvidia has denied. Earlier this month, Nvidia released a statement saying that adding a backdoor could create a security risk and further undermine user trust, further adding that doing so would be a gift to hackers and hostile actors. And while shifting our focus to Argentina, at least 87 people have died after being administered bacteria-infected fentanyl in hospitals. This is according to a judge investigating the deaths. The toll is expected to mount further. Argentinians, mainly the families of those affected, have taken to the streets, demonstrating these unfortunate deaths, demanding justice for loss of lives of the loved ones. Well, the patients had been reportedly hospitalized for unrelated conditions, and they were given the drug for pain relief before becoming infected with the multi-drug resistant bacteria. The alarm around this incident was first raised in May, when dozens of hospital patients suffered serious bacterial infections. 2 strains of a certain bacteria resistant to multiple antibiotics were detected in the patients. And investigators claimed it was fentanyl traced to pharma labs, which caused the poisoning and then the contamination among the patients. More alarmingly, as per the lead investigator, one of these batches of fentanyl had been widely circulated across Buenos Aires province, thus sparking fear for more cases of contamination-related deaths. Since May, the court has been trying to determine the exact number of deaths linked to drug contamination, with the toll rising ever since. Earth's North Pole is one of the most mysterious and inaccessible places on the planet. Russia, one of the 8 Arctic nations, is now undertaking yet another polar expedition to uncover its secrets. WION's principal correspondent, Siddharth MP, gets us this report from Russia's largest port city of Murmansk. Take a look.
The world's largest city north of the Arctic Circle is shining bright in the sun, a perfect time to go for sailing. Enthusiastic students from over 20 nations have gathered for a voyage of their lifetime, waving their national flags, proud to be a part of this historic expedition.
Nearly 20% of Russia's territory is in the Arctic region. In fact, this extremely cold region with harsh climate is close to the heart of the Russian people, which is why Russia regularly undertakes expeditions to the very roof of the world, which is the North Pole. Right now, there's students gathered from at least 21 countries, and they'll be going on this Russian icebreaker, sailing all the way to the roof of the world known as the North Pole.
Russia's bright orange vessel, dubbed 50 Years of Victory, is one of the 8 Russian nuclear icebreaker vessels owned and operated by the country's nuclear agency, Rosatom. The vessel is specially designed to pierce through the thick Arctic ice in the North Polar regions. From Murmansk in Russia's northwest, this icebreaker ship will be ferrying about 70 students from 20 nations to the North Pole on a 2-week-long voyage.
Personally, I feel like I'm quite literally on the top of the world, and it's something no Pirates of the Caribbean movie can even capture. Secondly, in terms of science, in terms of geography, there's one thing that's, it's rooted in books, and then another thing that's rooted in experience. So if it provides exposure, if it provides experience, it'll not just motivate me, it'll give me, this very fire to pursue it more.
The journey to the northmost point of the Earth is a learning opportunity for the students and a host of researchers from across domains, from climate studies to geography, space and robotics.
Russian space agency Roscosmos is working with Russian nuclear agency Rosatom. We will be testing prototypes of various technologies, including robotic rovers that can operate on icy planets. We will also explore and study the possibility of human spaceflight over Earth's polar regions.
For a place characterized by constantly shifting sea ice, the voyagers are ready to uncover secrets of the Earth.
For most people, the North Pole is something that they'll end up seeing only on a map, in a textbook, or probably on their phones. But for these students here, the North Pole is going to be a reality that will show up in front of their eyes, because they're undertaking an expedition to the North Pole on a Russian nuclear icebreaker. They'll be going there to learn more about the geography, about the science, and obviously about the nuclear technology that's taking them there. With video journalist Ajit from Murmansk in Russia, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
Well, Sam Altman and Elon Musk race to connect human brains directly with artificial intelligence. With Altman's OpenAI-backed Merge Labs and Musk's Neuralink each promising to read minds and rewrite the boundary between humanity and technology. Watch this story, which shows how the future is nearer than we thought. Take a look.
This is no sci-fi fantasy. It's real and it's happening. Elon Musk's Neuralink already has a head start, implanting coin-sized chips in humans, enabling thought-controlled cursors, gaming, even partial restoration for paralyzed patients. A surgical robot delicately threads electrodes into the brain, translating neurons into movement. Its goal: implant 20,000 users annually by 2031, building a $9 billion neurotech empire. Sam Altman, once Musk's partner at OpenAI, is pushing his Merge Labs, a brain-computer interface startup aiming to leapfrog Neuralink with AI-enhanced, less invasive implants. Backed by OpenAI Ventures with plans to raise $250 million at an $850 million valuation, Merge seeks to connect minds to machines at unprecedented bandwidth. Musk has the hardware edge. Altman brings AI smart techs. Neuralink's human trials reveal potential and limitations, retracting threads, partial connectivity. Altman believes Merge's AI focus can overcome those limits. The UK has approved Neuralink trials. China is advancing similar devices. Both camps see clinical hope in restoring mobility and communication for paralyzed people. But beyond medicine lies the broader controversial quest: merging human cognition with AI.
Well, Bitcoin is back in the headlines and has achieved yet another milestone. The latest price milestone comes as companies and institutional players ramp up their exposure to the world's largest cryptocurrency. Bitcoin topped a new all-time high of 124,000 on Thursday, driven by growing expectations of US Federal Reserve interest rate cuts and renewed corporate appetite for digital assets. Simultaneously, Ether climbed to $4,780, reaching levels not seen since 2021. The broader rally is being fueled by a bullish macro environment. Anticipation of Fed rate cuts in September is lifting the risk asset appetite. Regulatory momentum is strong. An executive order now permits crypto assets, including Bitcoin, to be a part of 401k retirement plans. Corporate demands also remain the other major fuel. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust is among the largest ETF inflows. Meanwhile, companies like MicroStrategy and Block Inc. continue adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets, cementing the asset's role in treasury strategies. The total crypto market cap has ballooned, exceeding $4.18 trillion, up from approximately $2.5 trillion in late 2024. Experts now eyeing the next threshold, with forecasts suggesting that Bitcoin could rally further towards $150,000 if bullish momentum and policy tailwinds persist. Meanwhile, broader markets are also riding the wave. The US dollar weakened, hovering near multi-week lows as rate cut probabilities increased. Well, in Geneva, talks to finalize the world's first legally binding treaty to curb plastic pollution are on the brink of a collapse. The negotiations that were seen as a last chance to tackle the growing crisis have now hit a deadlock, with deep divisions over limits on virgin plastic and controls on harmful chemicals. As time runs out, countries are scrambling for a compromise that could still salvage the deal. Take a look.
Plastic, be ambitious. Plastic, be ambitious. Sick of plastic.
Well, this Swiss pilot has reached new heights. We are talking about Rafal Domjan, who has done what was once unthinkable. He has beaten the altitude record for a solar-powered electric plane. His flight took him soaring to over 9,500 meters.
Génial!
To be sure, it wasn't easy, nor was it smooth gliding. The solar plane made the landmark flight from Sion Airport in southwest Switzerland, purely backed by warm air thermals, which caused it to climb beyond record heights that stood unbreakable for 15 years to the power of innovation and technology. And the unbreakable human spirit win again. And while Europe is sweltering under relentless and life-threatening heat, recording breaking temperatures are forcing nations across the continent to rethink how they are tackling climate crisis. The deadly infernos are not just limited to the Europe, but also across Balkan and North American region. Our next report telling you.
Europe is baking under intense heat wave. Extreme heat is breaking records across the continent, drawing bigger and stronger wildfires. Images show how smoke has engulfed over 80% of the region. Hundreds of firefighters are deployed in Spain, who deployed in unprepared landscapes, struggling to contain the deadly fires. A volunteer firefighter died from severe burns, and several people were hospitalized. As weather agency warned that almost all of the country was at extreme risk of fire.
So if we have predefined fire control lines, if we have buffer zones, if we have fuel reduced zones, where we in advance know we can use these structures for our advantage, like, tactical play. But as long as we expect firefighters in an unprepared landscape with no predefined control lines, no buffer zones, no fuel reduction to work, it is basically unfair.
Flames and dark smoke billowed over a cement factory that was set alight by a wildfire sweeping through olive groves in Greece. Authorities ordered nearly 8,000 residents near Patras to evacuate. Thousands of burnt vehicles stand in queue, showing the severity of the situation. A 38-year-old cafe owner stood in shock before the ruins of the beach bar, narrating the tale of her business burning down before her eyes.
I couldn't imagine the fire would actually get as far as here. No way. Afterwards, I saw a video that was posted on Facebook, and still I said, impossible, this can't be it.
Nearly 700 firefighters have been trying to extinguish the fire that set ablaze Portugal's Trancoso. Residents are worried that the worst has not passed yet.
It hasn't passed yet. There's still more ahead. Let's see how it goes. There are still farms with animals.
In Montenegro's mountainous terrain, firefighters assisted local residents who were using gardening hoses, portable spray pump systems, and even buckets with water in an attempt to stop the fire from spreading. One army soldier was killed and another badly injured when a water tanker they were operating overturned. Not just Europe, but Northern America is feeling the heat. Planes and helicopters were deployed near Canada's Halifax as thick plumes of smoke rose above the trees. Homes, factories are charred. Livestock face grave risks as the infernos continue to whirl. Across the Mediterranean and Balkan regions, not only are arsons suspected, but scientists and climatologists have warned that climate change is real, and the fires are only going to get deadlier. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And with that, we slip into a very short break, but we're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
As India celebrates its Independence Day, we tell you how patriotic films have evolved with time. Meet the cast of Sare Jahan Se Acha and celebrate 50 years of the iconic Hindi film Sholay. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
When I see these young women today leading troops, achieving so much, fighting jet planes, and it really fills me with a sense of fulfillment.
Not only these two particular days, 26th January or 15th August, every day he makes us proud. And I hope that we, both of us, making him proud too.
I was thinking about my unit ladies, my families.
I'm a soldier's wife is something that defines me and many other military wives. There is no better definition to me. This is exactly what I am and what I stand for.
मुझे और मेरी पूरी टीम को यहाँ पे ड्यूटी करने में बहुत गर्व महसूस होता है.